Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of ECH Kraken News. We had a lot of stuff happen this week, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass it over to RJ and he can fill us all in.
All right, so Kraken GM Ron Francis held a media availability on Tuesday, and I think overall he was pretty non-committal on most answers. He was asked about things like, what they're looking for in a coach, how they're going to approach the goaltending situation, what their AHL affiliation deal is going to be next season, and on a lot of those questions, it was basically, well, it could be this, it could be this. We don't know yet. We're keeping options open, and of course, he's not going to want to give away too much. But we did get a couple relevant bits of information. First, he confirmed that the reported timeline for the Kraken's final payment to the league, they're hoping to get it in by the end of April, as was previously reported. And of course, once that final payment clears, the Kraken can then officially join the league, sign free agents, do all that kind of stuff. So it's good to hear that they're still on pace with that timeline. And he did point out something that I hadn't considered before. We had done a segment before about how the Kraken were missing out on college free agents because they hadn't gotten their payment in yet. And Ron Francis said that the Kraken actually wouldn't have been players in the college free agent market anyway, because all those guys wanted to burn this year off their entry level deals. So when you have a college free agent signing, it's typically a 3-year entry level contract. And they can burn a year off of that contract by playing a certain number of games this season, which gets them to free agency sooner. So you can see that's something they would want to do. But of course, with the Kraken not playing any games this season, they can't do that if they sign with the Kraken. So Francis kind of pointed out that wouldn't have really been an option for them anyway. So that's something I hadn't really considered, and I think a good point. He also gave an update on the timeline for the coaching search, and he's kind of hinted at this before, but he said that the Kraken are prepared to wait and conduct as thorough of a coaching search as necessary. And that means potentially waiting until the season's over, so who hasn't been re-signed, who's been fired, and you really kind of have a sense of all your options as far as who's available.
Rob Brindamore.
Exactly. I was going to ask, do you think this approach is a good idea? And maybe that means he has someone specific in mind that might already be employed by a certain NHL team in Carolina, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, I think most definitely, but yeah, I think it's the smart thing to do. Why not wait until you have as many options on the table as possible so you can make the most informed decision. There's no one, like, the only people unemployed right now are people who had been fired over a year ago and weren't able to find a new job, right? Like, in some ways, that's what the market you're looking at this moment. You might as well wait a little while and see who's going to be available, what assistants might be available, because you can't really talk to teams about interviewing them during a season, right? If you like an assistant coach on a different club, you're going to have to wait until their season's over to talk to them anyway. So it just seems like you'd be really limiting your options if you were to decide that you needed a coach right now, especially when you're still like 3 months out from having an actual roster. It doesn't really make much sense to me.
Right. And looking at when Vegas hired a coach, Gerard Gallant, they hired him April 13th of that year. And while that is, it's April 16th today, the timeline for the season obviously was different, and it was right at the end of the regular season. So you could kind of get a sense of who was fired by the end of the regular season.
Yeah. All right, but we won't talk too much about coaching because next week on ECH Debate, we're going to be having a discussion about who we'd like to see as the Seattle Kraken coach. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that coming out next Friday. All right, RJ, but that wasn't the only Kraken news this week.
Yes. Going off of what we talked about last week with the practice facility, there's more news for the Northgate practice facility. On Wednesday, they poured the ice slabs for the rinks, and you can see it's concrete. It's not ice, it's the ice slab. Yes, there is a difference. And you get the concrete there on top, and you have the cooling system with the pipes below that you can see. What I thought was cool about some of the pictures they released is you look at the cool Kraken striping pattern on the walls. I think that's going to look really great. And personally, like seeing the rink shape and everything, it just feels more real. And I cannot wait to play a beer league game on that rink. Like I'm very excited about that for whenever that can happen.
Yeah, no, it looks good, and yeah, it looks real. It feels real. It's hard not to get really excited.
And on the personnel side, the Kraken also announced a few hires for the training facility. You have Chad Goodwin hired as a director of skating. And as with a few other things, the Kraken have kind of tried to emulate Vegas or bring people in from the Golden Knights, given how much success they've had. Goodwin established the Golden Knights skating program and has done a great job with that. And I'm sure he'll come in with the Kraken, another expansion team, and he's kind of done this before now with an expansion team, so I'm sure he'll do a good job. They also brought in Martin Halinka as director of youth hockey, and David Min and Caitlin Parker as player development coaches as well for the youth program. And it's great to see hires being made for the youth hockey program, already ahead of time, because it's so important for growing the hockey market, building a lasting fan base. I mean, youth hockey is again just one of the most important things you can do, especially as an expansion team. Coming in, the NHL new to the market, so it's good to see that they're getting ahead of the game with these hires.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we both know the importance of youth hockey and what it does to grow the fan base for your team, but also just for the passion for the sport, right? And we know what a big impact some of these youth hockey coaches and program heads and all that stuff have, because you and I have both experienced that through our years of youth hockey and the impact that those people had on us. So it's exciting and looking forward to seeing what happens with it all. So that's it for this week's Kraken news. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, let us know down in the comments if you're excited about all this as well, and we'll see you next week.